have to ask ourselves, what is the benefit of fearing anything? Why should I actually fear something? Have you ever asked yourself that? There might be many things in your life that you're currently worried about, because worry is another form of fear, or you might describe it as being actually fearful. Fear is being way more intense. It has a way stronger meaning than just to worry about something, usually speaking. There's so much stuff going on in the world right now that causes people a lot of fear, a lot of worry. They're worried about how the future will pan out. They're worried about what's going to happen to them in their life. Maybe they're out of a job right now because of situations going around on the planet. But why should we fear if we're truly children of God, of the universe? Can you grasp that feeling? If you're truly an expression of the spirit of life called God, if you're truly one with the Father of all life, then there's nothing to fear. But you see, if we don't understand the connection between us and all there is, then it becomes easy to start being afraid, to worry about things of the physical world. Fear exists within our minds and hearts, but yet we were told, do not be afraid. Let not your hearts be troubled. So what are we going to do about it? The only way to grow out of fear is by developing a deeper awareness and understanding of who we really are and what we're capable of doing. So, in a way, if you think about it, if you're facing something right now that you feel like you can't overcome, the obvious response is to worry over it or to be fearful of it. But it's a situation that you're observing more often than not. We can have fears that are imaginary based on things that might go wrong, but again, they're tied to the physical world. You have to clearly understand this connection. If you're afraid, look carefully to the connection that you have with your physical world. Are you afraid of ill health? Are you afraid of not earning enough money? Are you afraid that things are not going to work out for you? Are you afraid that you're going to get homeless? Are you afraid? Whatever it is that you're afraid of, it's generally speaking tied to the physical world. And that is exactly the realm that we're called upon to overcome. We're called upon to outgrow any limitations we see around us by exercising the divine power of our own consciousness, of our own imagination. Now, people are afraid, are letting the outside world control their own minds to such an extent that it has a real effect on their emotional well-being. That is what fear is. Fear isn't a thought that's going on in your mind, it's something you can feel throughout your whole being. It actually influences the cells of your body. It is actually very destructive, and yet most people put up with fear. They accept it as part of life, but it isn't a part of life. It is the greatest mistake that we have bought into, is to think that fear is normal. We could say a certain amount of fear is healthy. If you're faced with a dangerous situation, fear might be healthy with reason, but it really depends. Fear should be a signal that you should adjust your mind as quickly as possible, because the state that you're entertaining inside consciousness right now is doing you a disservice. It's causing you to be afraid. Now, can you move away from that fear? Yes. How are you going to do that? By changing your mind about the whole situation to begin with. And not only that, you have to change your mind about who you are. You should stop identifying with just your name, with just your body. The body can get hurt. It can fall sick, all sorts of stuff could happen, and people are afraid of things that might happen to them physically again. You see this pattern? You shouldn't identify with your name, your age, your race either, because these are part of the physical world. You don't necessarily take all of that with you after this body returns to dust. What you will take with you is your own awareness of being, and that awareness of being that you're having right now in order to watch this video or to go throughout your life is sadly never really focused upon by the average person. We just go through life totally unaware of what this power of our consciousness really is, what it's capable of doing. Because if we start analyzing that, we start to realize the thing that I fear right now, first of all, I don't have to truly fear it. whatever it is. And second of all, through the right use of my consciousness, I can remove that fear. It doesn't mean that the situation necessarily instantly improves or changes around in front of your eyes, but it does mean that your consciousness expands in the right direction. You see, as long as fear is controlling you, it's a roadblock. It's going to make it so it's harder for you to actually live a fulfilled life. And isn't that sad that most people accept fear as a state of being? You know, this is why people get anxiety disorders and all sorts of issues. The cells of your body are going to respond to your inner turmoil. And then maybe all sorts of signs on the body will start to occur that feed into all these other issues that we start to experience. All these disorders that we might get and develop for ourselves. Because I don't honestly believe that any baby is born into this world depressed or fearful, full of anxiety, etc. But yet it can develop very rapidly. If we're raised amongst people that are very abusive as a little baby from the moment we're born, right? We can rapidly develop anxiety and all sorts of disorders right away as a little baby. But again, it's because the physical world is influencing and affecting that baby's consciousness. And now as adults, we're allowing the physical world to do what happens to a baby. We let it influence our consciousness. So you could say that even though I'm an adult according to society, and you probably are, it doesn't mean that we're actually an adult in the real sense of the word. It might sound harsh, but I would agree that most people, even though they're adults, are actually children. Now, bigger picture is that we're always going to be a child of the universe to begin with, because the universe gave you your individuality for you to explore throughout infinity. And right now we're so afraid, more often than not, of this limited point of view that we're experiencing through this physical body. And we think that is all there is to us. But it's the greatest lie that has ever been told to us. It is the greatest mistake that humanity has made and accepted, is to believe that they're a limited physical human being first and foremost. Even though this right now, that we're having, this body, we're the most aware of it. But consciousness, my consciousness, yours, can become aware of much greater things that exist throughout infinity, throughout the universe. We know so little about ourselves and this universe that we're part of. But yet we're willing to allow fear to take a hold of us to such an extent, with such intensity, that we're incapable of living a fulfilled life. Now that is absolutely sad. So the way for people to overcome fear is to first of all truly understand and dare to accept the premise that you're not just a child of your physical parents, but you're a child of the universe. Physically speaking, your parents created you, but spiritually speaking, they didn't. You see, you have a body, but it's the instrument of the mind. And what is the mind? It's the greatest creation. It's the greatest power in all of creation. Now, why is that so? Because it is a reflection of what we would term a universal mind that has actually created the whole universe, the way it operates as we see it operating. But you see, you're part of that. And if you don't understand it, then this physical world is going to control you, and that is when fear starts to develop. But if we understand we're always in touch with the spirit of life, with God, with the mind of the universe, and if we truly grasp that and accept that and can feel it, feel the truth of it, when that really dawns upon you, then you'll start to notice the fear will vanish. And you see, one of the best ways to overcome fear I have found for myself is to close my eyes and simply contemplate what it means to love and what it means if I would be full of unconditional love. Because love is the greatest power against anything negative that you will ever experience. Love is really a gentle, warm state of being. that you can feel throughout your bones almost. And you see, that can heal you from your fear. Because universal love, unconditional love, where does it come from? It is actually the very essence of what they would say in scriptures is called God. So you can see the benefits if you allow your heart to open in this manner. So no matter how afraid you are, you shouldn't forget that you're a child of the universe. We can be afraid of so many things, but the fear shouldn't control our lives. Our mind, our imagination, this inner level and frequency of love that exists throughout creation, that should be the guiding principle of your life. That should be the power that is running the show. So every time you feel afraid, do not be ashamed to ask for guidance. And we're not necessarily talking of guidance from other people you physically can talk to. We mostly want you to understand to ask for guidance from your inner spiritual self, because that is connected with the universe. Now that is the mystery. The spiritual self is one with the spirit of life. And you can only understand and grasp this if, through experiment of your own, you learn to connect with it. And again, what I found helpful and useful for me in order to connect and have actual proof that I can change my state of mind if I'm fearful or worried, if I can connect with the frequency of love that is totally unconditional, then I can feel something shift, literally. I can literally feel something embrace me from within, and it warms up my spirits from within. And then I feel all my worries and sorrows melt away. I feel all my fears melt away, and I can feel it's going to be okay. This too shall pass. None of this is permanent, physically speaking, that I'm experiencing. So the fear, because of physical things, is not permanent for you either. But as long as we keep focusing on that fear, we're incapable of breaking free from it. Instead, we should redirect our minds entirely and aim it straight for unconditional love. We have to ask the universe, we have to set aside our ego, we have to humble ourselves, we have to dare ask from within our hearts, the depths of our beings, please show me what it means to love unconditionally, so I can heal myself from this fear, and likewise so I may heal others who are suffering if they were to reach out to me. And then we will lift ourselves right out of all the chaos and madness that might otherwise drag us down straight to hell. And you know what it means to go to hell? It means to be in a very bad spot that ultimately keeps us there because of our own state of mind. It is only once we see the symbolic light that we can grow out of the darkness. That's what we're all seeking to do here. And that's all what we're going to learn to do throughout infinity. That is your destiny. And I know that for a fact. So even though you might not believe anything I say to you through these videos, I still know one day the spirit of love is going to dawn upon you, and you will have found the solution, the true power and love of the universe that will set you free from anything that is currently bothering you. It will all melt away, and you'll feel so much better, so much freer, and you'll finally feel peace, and you'll finally feel that connection that you actually forgot all about. As you were growing older from child into adolescence into adulthood, you forgot temporarily your own connection that you've always had with God. And the connection happens from within. It comes from within. It rises from within. It embraces you from within. Find that power for yourself, and it will set you free. And there's no need to fear, no matter what happens to you physically speaking. First of all, understand it's temporary, and second of all, it'll never touch or hurt the real, immortal, eternal you. And discover that self, and you'll have found the remedy. against everything that is currently hurting you, making you feel disturbed and incompetent and worried. It will set you free. It will truly set you free. Now, if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing to receive inspirational videos on a regular basis. And with that being said, dear viewer, never forget that we are the dreamers.